that I have had the opportunity to have a child like Leo. Like, it has changed me massively and my perspective on life as well.
Guys, welcome back to another Saturday live. Well, I say live, but they're pre-recorded. But the whole thing, the conversation is live and it's edited. And it's been a while. I'm sorry, it's been a break in these. But you've seen the one with my friend Reed, and now we're back with another one. This is an awesome guest called Kemi. She is very inspirational. Actually, I've been following her on Instagram for quite a while, and I just thought it would be a perfect interview for you guys to learn a little bit about kind of like parenting kids with disabilities and things like that. And so I think a lot of people are going to get value about this, and everyone listening on the podcast, welcome. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Let's get into it. Kemi, do you want to introduce yourself? Tell us where you're from, what you do, and a little bit about your why you're here.
Yeah, so I'm Kemi, I'm 28 and I'm from Edinburgh. I'm a full-time mum to Leo, who has got quite a lot of medical needs. That's basically what I do. Leo consumes my life.
Consumes your life, but
yeah, consumes it.
You enjoy it?
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely the best thing I've ever done in my life. It's the hardest, but it's definitely worth it.
Do you know, there's this old saying that I always love hearing, is that anything that is worth having should be difficult or should be hard work. So
yeah,
if it's
worth, definitely.
So like anything else.
He's good.
Yeah, no. So how old is Leo then, should we ask?
So Leo is 8.5. He's going to be 9 in January. Okay. So Leo was born, like I said earlier, he was born at 27 weeks, just went into spontaneous labour. And then when he was born, they really struggled to like intubate him. And they ended up finding out when he was about 12 hours old that he had a very narrow airway. And what ended up coming of that is he got a tracheostomy put in place, which is an artificial airway. So he got that done when he was about 21 hours old. And then following on from that, they also found out that he had a part of his esophagus missing. So basically he wasn't able to eat orally, and he got a gastrostomy, it's called, which is a feeding tube which goes directly into your stomach. So he got all that done kind of in the first few days of life. So he had a wee bit of a rocky start.
Oh, poor sausage.
Yeah.
Do you know, it's interesting to say that, because I know of some parents of autistic people listen to this may relate, because I know there's some kids on the spectrum have a real difficult time eating, right? And so they also have to have feeding tubes. And so I know my partner Naomi, she worked for years. She's a specialist, and she worked in an SEN school, like a specialist bridge school here. And one of the kids she looked after had one of these tubes, so she had to get trained in feeding and all that kind of stuff, And it was quite interesting how many kids who are, have a variant degree of disabilities will have feeding tubes, because obviously feeding it becomes somewhat of an issue, especially if you have a physical disability like Leo.
Yeah.
So what was it like finding out, like, all of the, so you just give him birth, right? And then you're in a heck of a state. What's it like kind of knowing like your little baby has to have all this stuff? And you said he was in the hospital for 1.5 years, right? Before he was able to come home.
Yeah, Leo was 19 months old by the time he got home fully. So when I was obviously really young when I had Leo. I was 19 when I was pregnant, and he was born 2 weeks after I had turned 20. So I was really young at the time. My waters broke like spontaneously, like there wasn't a reason for premature labour or anything like that, so obviously we weren't expecting him to come that early. It was really overwhelming because it was obviously he's my first child, so I didn't really know what to expect anyway. And then when you've got all this other stuff going alongside it was really scary, and I didn't know what any of the things were that he was having done at the time, so that was obviously quite, like, it was just scary in general, to be honest. I didn't really know what was going on.
But I suppose like the blessing in disguise for you is that, like, not having any children previously, so not knowing what to expect, you take everything in your stride, right?
Definitely. Yeah, I always say that if anybody ever asks me, because quite a lot of people that know Leo or know myself are always like, wow, that must be really difficult. And the only thing, like what you just said, that I can say is that I've never had anything else to compare it to. So having Leo with all these things going on is my normal. So I suppose it's a bit of a blessing in that sense. I don't have anything to compare it to.
Yeah, exactly. And I think like a lot of parents, like especially autistic parents, because obviously most people, almost all people watching this will have, the parents of people on the spectrum. They'll can have a similar experience if the autistic child
Yeah,
is the first child, and then obviously they'd see the difference if they were having more children after
yeah,
that who didn't have as many issues, bless them.
yeah,
So here's a question, and I was saying this about on your Instagram, everything looks very put together. You're very, very inspirational. You're always posting about your kid, and the successes and the things that you overcome, which is just incredible. And it's nice to see because it's kind of encouragement. And anybody who's listening and watching, I'm going to leave the links in the show notes and in the description so you can check out Kemi's Instagram page. If that's okay, Kemi, obviously.
yeah. Of course, Leo's got a page as well. Actually, that's
Yes,
where all his medical stuff is. Yeah,
I've seen that. Yeah, so you can follow his journey too. And so what I would love to know is, have you always been like, okay, let's get up and do this? Or is there a point in your life where you're like, oh my goodness, like I have such a lot going on with my kid, more so than the average mums like you see in the school run and whatever,
yeah.
Did it come to a point where you were like, I can either be really kind of wallow in self-pity, or I can go, all right, let's beast mode this and make the best of it. Like, did you have that crossroads, or have you always been like, let's beast mode this beast mode?
I think, to be honest, I've always been a person that tries to be more optimistic than pessimistic, and that's just my personality in general. But I think I had such a strong connection to Leo that it was just always like we just had to just do what we needed to do, and it was like there was always one thing kind of after the other, but it was kind of like we'll do this and then it'll be fine. And then my mum, my family are super supportive as well, and they're very much like that as well, that you just have to get on with stuff, not like in a bad way, but they're just very much like, this is your situation, so make the best of it.
Yep.
There's definitely been periods where I've found it more difficult to be like that. Like Leo had surgery 2 years ago and he was very, very sick after it for a long period of time. Like he was in the hospital for 11 months after he had that surgery. I found it really difficult to be as positive as I normally am during that period, just because of how sick he was. But I just think Leo's very much like that as well. He just gets on with things, so it's hard not to be like that when he's doing that. He's the one going through it.
Yeah, bless him. And he's obviously, you're feeding off him, and he's doing the best he can. So
yeah,
why can't you? I guess that's the kind of motto there. Yeah.
Definitely.
And there's another great saying I suppose we should always remember, is that life is happening for us, not to us. These things are not happening to us; they're happening for us. There's the ability for us to learn here and grow as people. And so, do you feel like you have grown? I mean, like everybody grows as a parent. From when I wasn't a parent, like now, I look at myself and think, oh my goodness, like your whole perspective changes. But when you have such a profound disability with a child, do you feel like do you feel like you've grown in certain ways that you never thought you would?
Oh, definitely. I think even I feel like what you're saying, as a parent, you're always learning anyway, and you're always changing. But I think having Leo just really made me appreciate small things in life. Like everybody will say that it's a bit of a cliche, but it definitely made me appreciate smaller achievements. Because obviously he wasn't doing stuff that he should have been doing maybe for his age. So when he was doing it, like it was a massive thing. Mm-hmm. It's made me very grateful that I have had the opportunity to have a child like Leo. Like it has changed me massively, and my perspective on life as well. So definitely.
So so let's talk a little bit. I'm going to talk about schooling and stuff in a minute, but what is home life like? Like, what would you say the most difficult things are, like having a disabled child compared to you people who've got it's just typical kids?
So obviously, like there's the amount of stuff that Leo needs done on a day-to-day basis. He gets medications. He was getting physio, like that we were having to do for a while. Leo actually is also on the spectrum as well, so that coming into plays. That he just was diagnosed when he was 5 years old, so that's kind of like a new diagnosis. But definitely, like just the amount of stuff that he needs to have done, like because he doesn't eat orally, obviously he has like a feed routine that he has to get done. So luckily for Leo, he loves routine and structure, so it works quite well. But it's just like, I think, to be honest, like we've kind of gotten a routine now where it's not that much different from your everyday life compared to somebody else. It's just that there's added like things in, like medications, appointments. Obviously, it has quite a lot of appointments which you wouldn't normally go to. Trying to think. Do you know what it is? It just seems so normal
So
to me that I
normal,
don't
of course,
really
of course.
think, like,
So
what's
what's bedtime like? I mean, so people with autistic kids and disabled kids, I feel like bedtime for people with kids in general is difficult
yeah.
sometimes, right? So what's it like for you? And let's give us a typical rundown.
So Leo has been in the exact same routine since he was a baby. Like I was just very much in my head. Before I even knew anything else. Like I always was quite keen on routine. So Leo he'll come in from school normally at about 3:30. He'll get his iPad for a little bit, and just like so he can settle into being in the house. He loves the iPad.
Yeah.
He gets his bath every night at 5 o'clock. So Leo uses a picture exchange card.
Okay.
So it's basically just like little cards that show him what he's doing, like a timetable basically. So we use that. So he'll have like that. He'll choose if he wants to go for a shower or a bath. So that'll be at about 5 o'clock. He gets bathed early because he has to be on his feet for 6 o'clock. And gets medications in. So he'll get bathed. He'll have a bit of music in the bath. Come out, get ready. He'll normally watch like a cartoon or something for a little bit as well. Get his milk put on, which he helps with now as well. He's starting to be a bit more independent with that, so he likes helping. And then we have a book. And Leo also gets melatonin, so his bedtime routine is pretty much like by 7:30 every night he's asleep.
Oh, and the melatonin's okay. It doesn't give him nightmares or anything.
No, he seems to be absolutely fine. The melatonin is actually just a new thing that we've started because Leo would be awake for hours and hours, and he was really distraught. Like he was overtired anyway.
Yeah.
You know what kids are like when they fight their sleep, they're grumpy anyway. But it was just really affecting him as a person.
Yeah.
I was really against it for a very long time just because I hadn't personally used it myself. But we started that a couple of months ago, and the difference it's made to his mood and his behaviour has been massive.
Did you notice because I've used melatonin, I use melatonin quite a bit because obviously being on the spectrum myself and trying to sleep is like my brain's going like 1,000 miles an hour. I'm trying to sleep, and my girlfriend's like, dude, just go to sleep. But you know, like, do you find that he's more like groggy in the morning, a bit more like hungover from the melatonin?
He doesn't actually seem to be groggy because this was the whole reason why I was really reluctant to give him it, because I didn't want anything that was going to alter how he felt like in the morning or before he was going to sleep. So he's absolutely fine. Leo's a very early riser. Leo gets up from like 4:30 to 5 a.m.
Yeah,
kind of every morning. Like that's what he does. But he's absolutely fine when he wakes up. He seems to be fine. He's not told me otherwise that he feels yuck or anything like that as well.
Oh, that's cool. All right, give me 1 second. I'm just going to pause. Oh, sorry about that, guys. You know, life calls, and when you're in the middle of live sessions, and life calls. Anyway, so let's talk a little bit about schooling then. How have you found schooling? You know, having support for not only you know, special needs in you know, for physical disability, but special needs with autism and stuff. How are you finding the schooling process?
So we've had a bit of a like up and down kind of with school. So when Leo was first supposed to go to nursery, there was a bit of an issue. This was before he had his autism diagnosis. There was a bit of an issue about getting him into a mainstream nursery because of his medical needs. They were really apprehensive about having Leo there, just because Leo needs to have a carer with him during the day as well while he's at school that can deal with all his medical stuff. So when Leo first went to nursery, there was I had to get in touch with a lot of people in education just to be able to actually get him a place in a mainstream nursery, which I'm sure quite a lot of other parents can relate to that as well. Like that have got children that are on the spectrum or that have got medical stuff. And for the first year of his nursery, I had to actually sit in the building as well. So I was in a room next door, and the carer was in the actual classroom with him in nursery. And then following on from that, when we were trying to get him into primary school, oh, sorry, my phone just clicked there.
That's okay.
Oh, sorry, that happened. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put my phone on Do Not Disturb.
Okay, no worries.
That's fine, as that came back. There we go. Following on for that, when we were trying to go to school, oh my goodness, sorry, my phone's gone crazy. That's my mum trying to phone my phones every morning.
Oh, okay, sorry.
When we were trying to get him into school, they were really quite persistent about putting Leo in a school that was for children that had medical or kind of disabilities. And I wasn't against it, but I wanted to try him in a mainstream setting because Leo absolutely loves people. Like, he loves people watching, and I felt like he came on so much from being at the mainstream nursery. So we did put him into a mainstream school to begin with, but obviously just due to his autism, they weren't really equipped to deal with what he needed and give him the structure that he needed. So I ended up we put him into the mainstream, and then after a couple of weeks I ended up putting him into one of the special needs school that's like in our area, and that was a game changer for Leo completely, just because they were able to give him the structure. And obviously Leo's not able to talk, he uses sign. So the school are used to doing that, so that's actually really brought on his signing as well.
So is he using Makaton and PEX?
So yeah, he uses sign along. That's one they use in Edinburgh. I think it's a wee bit different in certain areas. So he uses he uses PEX. His signing is improving. He's only kind of, I would say, in the last year actually probably taken an interest in it and realising that when he does it, he's going to get something from it. But he's very independent, so I think that as well. He's just kind of get stuff himself.
And what about ProLeoto to Go, the app for autism? Have you seen that?
Is that the one that's the voice output?
It does everything. It does like you can put picture storage together, and then it like you press speak, and then it'll speak it, or you can just show the pictures.
He's got a tablet that's got that on it. It's like the pictures, and then he clicks it, which they're kind of trying to model that at school. He's still a bit reluctant to use it, but they have got it like there to use. Okay.
Because it is an app for the iPad. It's about £200, but on Autism Awareness Month in April, it's half price. So it's good to know. Yeah, it's a good app. It's a fantastic app. I don't know the people who run the app. Otherwise, I'd try to hook you up. But I don't. I just know the app is very, very good. And we in the SEN schools, they use it like just flat out.
No, that sounds so good. That sounds similar to like what he's got. I don't actually know what is it he's got on his. The one they got off his speech and language therapist, but it's something similar, I think.
Yeah. Well, definitely. But as long as it works for him, bless him. So, in terms of like. You as a person, because obviously a lot of parents, your life revolves around your children. Of course it does, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's great, but also we have to additionally think, well, we are humans, we are people, we have our needs, and we have certain things that we want to get done in life. And so how do you manage your life? Do you have a career? Do you how do you find downtime? What's like date night? What do you do?
So probably for the first 4 years of Leo's life, nobody actually had Leo apart from myself. Like his dad has always been involved. But just because of the training that you actually have to go through training to be able to look after Leo just for his medical stuff. So for about the first 4 years, I had Leo constantly. And then once I felt more at ease, his dad started taking him for an overnight. So he goes to his dad's 2 nights a week overnight. Not 2 nights a week, 2 nights a month overnight. He goes to his dad, so obviously that gives me a wee bit of time. He sees his dad for a couple of hours on a Tuesday and a Thursday after school as well. So that's more of a new thing, but that was more because I was a bit hesitant about giving anybody Leo to look after, just because of how much he's been through. I was really anxious. But definitely I would say probably in the last year, because Leo's becoming more independent, it's made me feel like I can take a step back a bit. And that it's okay for other people to watch him so that I can go do stuff. Work-wise, I've actually not returned to work since I had Leo, because I was having to go to nursery with him and then school to begin with. And then he had his big surgery, obviously, and he was in hospital for a long period of time. So now's the time where I'm actually starting to look at going back to work, which I'm really, really excited about, because it's hard work being a full-time parent, physically and mentally. So I'm really excited to be able to start looking again. I'll probably go back part-time just so that I'm still
there for him,
able to get stuff done for Leo, because there's Leo needs like a lot of orders and stuff done and meetings and appointments, so I still need to be a wee bit flexible with that. But I think I meditate quite a lot. That's something I do just to try and keep me calm. I use quite a lot of apps like Headspace and that type of thing. Just depends really.
Do you have do you have like a daily routine, like it's mum time between like 9 and 10 or something, or do you have something when he goes, because you said you have somebody that stays in the house, like an in-care?
An overnight carer.
So you can have a little bit of respite right in the evenings.
So it was basically because Leo's on a ventilator at night, he's got his tracheostomy, like his artificial airway, and Leo's airway is so severely narrow that if his tube comes out, he can't breathe at all. So because of that, obviously, like it's extremely dangerous if it comes out, like he could suffocate. So because of that, we've had to have carers that stay awake and watch him overnight. So probably the first 6 years, I probably never slept properly just because I was so anxious. just because Leo was very, very poorly when he was little in comparison to now how he is now. Like, he's a much more robust child. So the carers come then. So they start at 10 o'clock at night. So probably from like 10, I can kind of chill. And then during the day, Leo, when he's at school, obviously I've got a wee bit more time. So he's only been at school properly probably for a couple of months actually, and like in the whole period. But when he's at school, I can get bits done. But while he's off on the school holidays, it's a bit harder to get time just because Leo's very clingy to me.
Oh, sweet. So, yeah, you guys have been like, you know, a rock solid partnership. So, you know, for like, you know, whatever, 4 or 5 years of his life. So,
yeah,
it's definitely a he's going to have you know, that kind of relationship with you. It's just fascinating, you know, because I often feel like when I see parents like yourself who've got so much going on and so much kind of like to do, how do you maintain a steady focus and not lose your head a bit and go, oh my goodness, how do I, you know, get up and keep going, you know?
I think you don't have a choice, so you just kind of have to do it. Like, I think like that's what it comes down to ultimately. But I'm a bit of a control freak. I like stuff to be done a certain, well, I don't even think it's a bad thing. Like, I like things to be done a certain way, and because of that, that's kind of worked in my favour having a child like Leo, because I enjoy things to be organised. There's definitely periods of time where I find it difficult and I struggle with it. Like, I'm not going to lie and say that it's always easy, because it's not. Sometimes you can feel really overwhelmed with stuff. And what I've started to do is just asking for help. People that are able to help me with stuff, I'll say, can you help prioritise stuff for me, or can you help me manage certain stuff, which is something that's been a very new thing for me, because I don't really like asking for help.
Yeah.
But because of that, it's made it much more manageable. So, and got an abundance of lists that I work through, so that keeps me on track.
That's good. No, I love lists. So would you have any advice for parents who are kind of like parents of kids who are disabled and comorbid autism? Like, would you have any kind of words of advice or encouragement for anybody? You don't have to. I don't want to put you on the spot. I'm just saying if you have any advice.
I think something that I've learned, just obviously I had Leo very young anyway, so I was very unsure of myself in general, let alone as a parent. And then obviously throwing all the medical stuff into it, you're basically just always listening to somebody else's opinion and what you should be doing. I think the only thing I would say is just be comfortable in what decisions you're making for your child, that you know your child best, and you're always going to make the best decisions for them. And that's probably the best advice I could give, because I was really unsure of myself and I questioned myself quite a lot as a parent, making, like, if I was making the right choices. So yeah, I would just say that, be confident in who you are as a parent.
Yeah, I guess because you as a parent, you always know best, don't you? You know your kid.
Yeah, definitely.
Excellent. That's excellent advice, and I hope everyone kind of reinstates that. Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Kemi, for taking the time to talk to me today. I know it was a lot. I'm sorry, but I find it fascinating. And I'll leave all your social links down below so people can check you out, and also Leo's one if you want to check out Leo's page and follow your journey. Super inspirational.
Thank you so much.